Welcome back, focused learners. Today, we're unpacking a profoundly relatable and honestly deeply liberating essay by a writer named Salima, featured in issue 8 of her weekly Receipts. We're going to explore the hidden exhaustion of what she so brilliantly calls performing goodness in our daily lives. If you've ever felt just completely drained by trying to be the perfect colleague, the easygoing friend, or just undeniably good in the eyes of everyone else, this explainer is absolutely going to crack something wide open for you. I want to let this core realization really sink in for a second. You don't have to prove you are a good person. Salima kicks off her essay with this profoundly liberating thought. Not to your colleagues, not to strangers on the street, literally not to anyone. You don't have to go above and beyond just to try and shift someone else's opinion of you, especially when that opinion was probably never really about you in the first place. Sounds incredibly simple, right? But as the author notes, it's actually one of the absolute hardest things we ever have to unlearn. Now, what's really fascinating here is that this isn't just some grand, abstract psychological concept. Oh no, this behavior infiltrates the completely mundane moments of our everyday routines. Salima points out that the performance bleeds in when you're doing simple stuff, like responding to a difficult tenant, trying to figure out how to split a taxi fare, or maybe holding a door open way too long for a stranger who isn't even bothering to look up at you. In all these little micro moments, we're quietly erasing ourselves just to make other people comfortable. It happens in the supermarket, the train station, the cafe, basically any room where we unconsciously feel like we're being assessed. And let me tell you, the psychological toll of this constant assessment is massive. It creates what she calls an invisible weight. This is a very specific kind of exhaustion that comes from constantly carrying around an unasked burden to continually be seen as acceptable, safe, and easy. Because, how you do one thing really is how you do everything. You aren't just living your life, you're actively managing everyone else's perception of your life. And frankly, it's exhausting. Mostly because nobody actually asked you to pick up this weight. You just sort of assumed it was the price of admission to exist in the room. Section 1. The office door moment. Okay, let's dive into this, because the author shares a highly relatable micro moment that completely cracked this entire concept open for her. Imagine an ordinary day at work. At 0 seconds, a colleague calls Salima, needing someone to tag her through a secure door. Salima says yes and walks over. By 20 seconds in, she arrives, but her colleague is just standing there, typing away on her phone, completely ignoring her. Now, the old Salima would have rushed, right? She would have opened the door immediately, flashed a big smile, and been everything the colleague needed without even being asked. But at the 45-second mark, instead of rushing, she just waits. Not with an attitude, not rudely, she simply waits. Her colleague finishes typing, walks up to the door, and Salima tags her through. Then they just both go on with their day. That tiny, unremarkable pause at the door, it changed everything. The author realized I had not erased my own moment just to fill theirs. She had simply been present, done exactly what she came to do, and let that be enough. No over-delivering for someone else's comfort. It was such a small thing, but honestly, for anyone who struggles with chronic people-pleasing, choosing not to perform your usual rushing submissiveness, that is an enormous victory. This brings us to a really profound piece of wisdom Salima shares from her home country. There's a striking Ghanaian proverb. If you want, you can dance barefoot on a pit fire to make your enemy love you, and the only thing they will say is that you put dust in their eyes. Just let that vivid imagery sink into your mind for a second. You can give absolutely everything. You can literally burn your own feet trying to please certain people, and at the end of the day, they will still find a reason to complain about you. And that proverb brilliantly illustrates such a frustrating reality. When people already carry a fixed image of who you are, your overperforming does not update that image. It just feeds it. You perform, they watch, and they find a way to make your actions confirm whatever they had already decided about you anyway. Meanwhile, you go home completely depleted, tossing and turning, wondering what more you could have done. But the harsh truth is, there was literally nothing more you could have done. Section 2. 2 types of kindness. And this brilliantly illustrates the pivot into the intellectual core of our explainer. Salima points out that for a long time, she wasn't actually living goodness. She was performing it. And there is a massive contrast here. Performative kindness, well, it needs an audience. It's constantly seeking confirmation that you are safe or easy to be around. It quietly keeps score in the background and gets incredibly hurt when that score isn't returned. Grounded kindness, on the other hand, is driven entirely by choice. No audience required. You don't need anyone to confirm you're good, and there's absolutely no debt being collected. You hold the door simply because you want to. Full stop. Now, I know what you might be thinking. If I stop going out of my way for everyone, aren't I just going to turn into a bad, selfish person? But Salima is super clear on this. Giving up the performance doesn't make you colder or less generous. Actually, scratch that. It's really about becoming more honest and free. When she didn't rush to open that office door, she wasn't being unkind at all. She was simply being present, acting with true agency rather than submissiveness. She just didn't erase herself in the process. Section 3, the ambassador burden. Shifting our tone slightly to address a deeper, macro-level societal weight. You are not the ambassador. Salima speaks so directly here to a lot of us, especially to women, and especially to those living and working in spaces where they are the minority. Many of you are walking around right now carrying a massive, invisible weight that was never yours to carry in the first place. This is the weight of representation. It's that unearned heavy pressure to be absolutely impeccable at all times. It's the burden of constantly managing other people's biases through your own perfect behavior. It's feeling like you have to act as living proof for everyone who looks like you, trying to be so undeniably good that no one could possibly have a single thing to complain about. It's an impossible, completely exhausting standard that honestly just strips away your basic humanity and reduces you to a walking performance. Which brings us to this wonderful, grounded, and slightly hilarious piece of wisdom. God did not call a committee to approve your existence. You do not need a panel of your peers, your colleagues, or random strangers on the street to give you permission to just exist in a room. You don't need to earn your place in spaces you already belong in. Your presence isn't up for debate. Section 4, the examined life. Guiding us toward our resolution, where we realize that letting go of this performance leaves a void we must intentionally fill. And this right here is the underlying challenge of the entire essay. If you stop performing goodness, who are you? When you finally stop organizing your entire personality around managing interpretations that you literally cannot control anyway, you have to actually figure out what you value. You have to discover what kindness looks like when it stems from a place of authentic choice, instead of a deeply ingrained fear of being rejected. So the crucial point is this ultimate diagnostic question. Whenever you feel that old reflex flaring up, you know the one when you're about to apologize for taking up space or you're rushing to open a door for someone glued to their phone, stop and ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to or because I need to be seen a certain way? This one honest question is the real work. It is the dividing line between living a performed life and an examined life. And please, remember this incredibly liberating truth. People will either see you or they won't. They will either like you or they won't. And you know what? That has almost nothing to do with how hard you try, and literally everything to do with who they are and what they've already decided. Your job is not to change their minds. Your only real obligation is to stay whole while you live your life. That is enough. Truly, it has always been enough. We're going to end our explainer today on a classic philosophical note from Socrates, which Salima features prominently in her essay, "An unexamined life is not worth living." If you don't stop to examine why you rush to the door, why you always pay for the taxi, or why you smile when you don't actually mean it, you're just going to keep doing it. You'll keep wondering why you feel so invisible, even when you do everything right. So as you wrap up this analysis and go about the rest of your day, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. The next time you feel the urge to shrink yourself and perform, what would happen if you simply stood still and just let yourself be enough?